color and of African heritage living in the United States have come together to form their own unique theology. Its name is Womanist Theology, and it is centered around the dual oppression and unique experiences of Black women. Their missiology can best be described by a quote from Dr. Linda E. Thomas. The tasks of womanist theology are to claim history, to declare authority for ourselves, our men and our children, to learn from the experience of our forebears, to admit shortcomings and errors, and to improve our quality of life. Anna Julia Cooper was just one very influential figure in the womanist movement and was very invested in the missiology of her people. She believed wholeheartedly in the power of Black women and wanted this to be known. She could not stand for the sexism of Black men, their superiority, and their inability to support women to thrive. Cooper could also not stand for white women being so inconsiderate of race in their feminist theologies. Not a white man or woman, nor a Black man, would ever be able to appreciate or even grasp these experiences and oppressions. She was a major influence in the womanist movement. Others began to join the journey, and the unmuting of voices of Black women began to unfold through their mission. Womanist theology has a tendency to overlap with other kinds of theologies. There are hints of feminist theology as well as Black theology incorporated within their principles and missiology. What a lot of people don't realize is that feminist theology doesn't quite capture the theology of Black women. Alice Walker was the one who coined the term womanist because, in their culture, mothers would call their daughters womanish when they were acting out or being bold. This name is important because it captures a piece of their culture while not having to call their theology Black feminism just because feminism itself is often thought with a culturally white nature. The need to separate their theology from all others comes from their dual oppression of sexism and racism. Again, this can be best described by a quote by Dr. Linda E. Thomas. African American women's experiences of oppression and marginalization have led them to espouse a religious framework that would give them the regard society has deprived them. Although a separate doctrine, the biblical interpretations by womanists is just one way to greatly increase the realization of significance and essentiality of Black women, which is a main component of their missiology. Womanists can express their significance in reading the Bible from the viewpoint of the marginally oppressed. One particular biblical story of Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar in Genesis, seen through the eyes of Hagar, and also considering the interpersonal relationships of the account, can impact the mission endeavor. Hagar is an Egyptian slave and Sarah is barren, both lowering their position within the community. They are codependent of each other and share a form of sisterhood because of the physical, cultural conditions, and conflicting social norm experiences they share. As part of their mission, womanists like to study woman-to-woman relationships and female roles and personalities. After Hagar has Abraham's hair, because Sarah could not, there was a break in their codependency. Hagar then goes off into the woods and has an experience with the divine. This image can be easily paralleled to the work of womanists and is best expressed as Dr. Roslin puts it. Ultimately, Hagar and her offspring are able to establish a new beginning, whereby their actions support the redemptive and reproductive aspirations of Christian mission. Together they form a clan or communal grouping, a hood of their own, whereby their spiritual and religious experiences establish the character, condition, and quality of life that will be shared by the members of the group and the future interpersonal relationships they will foster. The Bible is so typically interpreted in white aspects. By taking the Bible and looking at it through differently interpreted narratives with the image of a Black God, you can see more clearly the idea that God identifies with the oppressed and with Black Americans. Another major aspect of the missiology of womanists is studying tradition. Oral tradition specifically allows them to take narratives from slavery to freedom and use it as a primary source. Their main hope is to take the oral cultures, silenced voices, and invisible experiences to center stage rather than have them be behind scenes, because experience is truly the teacher of all things. This process is so important to make bold these voices, because with bold voices comes the respect and recognition that the womanists are so passionately trying to obtain. Aside from the studying, analyzing, and bringing new life to scripture and tradition aspect of their mission, womanists also like to go out into their community, teach their wisdom, and rebuild norms, as well as help the entire African American community. This part of their mission is fundamentally about liberation. They want to fuel action within the oppressed so that they can free themselves. A major part of their work that is so inspiring is that they don't only stand up for Black women, but also all women in general, and they also oppose all kinds of oppression. They branch into the struggles of other people and other communities as well, which is very admirable because many theologies are only concerned with their own standards. Womanists can be described as audacious and bold, with a passion for all people and African American communities. Their missiology, that encompasses multiple aspects of religious doctrine and liberating principles, will continue to intensify the voices of oppressed Black women and bring power and significance to their history and experiences, as there is a lot to be learned from their wisdom.